Welcome to 33 Founders, a series about founders of the coolest startups. Brought to you by 33 Voices and hosted by Chase Jennings and Jenna Abdu.
So RebelMouse is a real-time social publishing platform. And that means that we put together content hubs and experiences around conversations, around your own content. It's a full publishing platform, so you can publish original content on it, but you can also take a picture and tweet it and then give it context and turn that into a blog post. And we have big publishers using it to tell the most important stories of our days, from Boston Marathon and what happened there, to a big storm, to fun stuff like the latest Grumpy Cat piece, or sci-fi using us for Sharknado. We're being used by social TV with Fox Digital using it for Glee and New Girl and The Following. Sci-fi using it for Comic-Con, and Business Insider using it as something that they're selling, also to create beautiful content hubs and accompanying promotional units, which are Rebel ads. So we also have a $10 a month product that any small business can use to create really an incredible website experience that's social, that takes all the real-time content they're curating and mixes it with the original content. So we're a year out of launch. We're reaching 5 million uniques in the last 31 days, and that's growing almost 1 million uniques a week in the last 3 weeks. It's been a lot of fun.
Congratulations, really quick.
Thank you. The team is 37 developers. We're globally distributed, so we're an incredibly fast team. They're brilliant individuals all around the world. We're headquartered in Soho in New York. Our investors and advisors are some of the biggest stars in the publishing and media and advertising world, from a John Battelle to a Chris Dixon and a Jonah Peretti and Eric Hippo and Ken Lear. First round Oak, it's a SoftBank. It's an amazing group we have. So we're now starting to also have a clear path to revenue, as first publishers used us to tell these stories, and now they're also using it to monetize their sites better and create better recirculation on their sites. And brands are starting to use it to engage in conversations with their audience that they've built so hard, that they've worked so hard to build. So I think I went way past 60 seconds.
Oh, you can go on as much as you want.
Okay. So it's exciting. We're powering a part of GE's site, but we're also helping them do better ads. We believe the power in the world is moving to social, but there's some obvious last dots that are really hard to connect, and that is our mission. So it means from the mom and pop small business store, maybe it's their niece or nephew running their Twitter and Facebook accounts, that they can close that gap and run their website now too, and take a static brochure and turn it into a real-time and engagement strategy that's easy to implement without needing developers and with needing just a little bit of design and point and click. But that also works for sales teams at publishers, so that they can sell a sponsored content and native experience without becoming an additional stress on their tech and product and edit teams, which is very hard to do. So I love that what I'm doing is something I've been working on for a long time. So at HuffPost, I was CTO from year 1 to a year after acquisition, where I ran product design and engineering. And so the reason that I left was because I was being asked like 20 to 40 times a week what was essentially the same question, which is, how do we make our websites and our mobile apps, it's social, and how do we make it meaningful? And it became clear to me that there was a really huge problem that could be solved by a platform that made this easy for people.
So it's really great that RebelMouse is a tool that Chase and I can use for our personal information, but we can also use it for 33 Founders as a whole.
Yes.
How are you creating and marketing an interface that can be used by so many different people on different platforms?
Oh, I like that question. Thank you. We think of it as the consumerization of enterprise. So in the past, if you were going to have a big company like GE use something, you would build it totally for them, and they probably would have a horrible interface, and you'd have to do these training things, and you'd force people to learn it, and you'd have like classic salespeople go close the deal, and etc. And instead, the world we're living in is really cool. Big, huge, enormous companies are using the same tools that consumers use. And so it's really important to us that we make it so easy that the beginner level social media person can immediately understand how to create an awesome site and profile and create one for their business. But that it also has the depth, so if you're Liz Huron, who runs innovation and social editing at Wall Street Journal, that you can use it in a really cool way where you're taking everybody who's at Davos on a Twitter list and cross-sectioning it to when they use one of the two important hashtags. And then you're rearranging the page and you're promoting the content that's best. But it has a lot of sophistication that is still extremely easy to use. So one of our favorite stories is there's a pastor who uses it in his church, and he's puts flyers in the front of the church that say, "I have faith because _." And then there's a hashtag with it, and all of his members like say why they have faith, and they hold the sign and take a photo, and it all comes together on his site. And it's surprisingly, it's so sincere. It's like we never meant that to be the use case, right? But just like he's using it, Fox can tell all of their audience that, hey, the new Kevin Bacon show is tonight, and it's scarier than ever. And take videos, Vines, Instagram videos, Twit pics of you and your friends on the couch, and we're looking for the best, and we'll publish it. And so their social media editor can be watching that hashtag campaign and just favorite stuff on Twitter or like them on Instagram from their main account. And that will message the user, hey, you're live on the site, and it publishes it. So it's super efficient for them to be able to run these campaigns that show, when you have a large audience, that you actually care that it's a conversation and not just a broadcast tool. So that's an important thing for us, that it's a consumer, it's a product that has a consumer solution and a consumer audience, but that also works for big businesses. Okay.
So you've mentioned before that RebelMouse's defining factor is really native advertising. I'm especially not a fan of traditional advertising, so I'd be especially interested to know what native advertising means to you.
Yeah, so a few months ago I was much more comfortable talking about native advertising.
Much anymore?
It's just that so many people are abusing it. So I think there's still something that's meaningful. I've switched, when I talk about it, I talk about how these are content hubs that weave together sponsored content and editorial content and look and feel like the site, because there's so much abuse of native. So I think if you break down what native is, there's a couple levels of it. One is that you're actually putting content first, and aesthetically you're trying to make that content look like the content of the site. It shouldn't be deceptive. It should be marked as sponsored. But then the second piece of native, which is where things get very interesting, is when you're writing content particularly for that site. So we enable an agency like Vayner to do creative campaigns with GE for a specific publisher and write content for that audience and be able to know that their content is reaching them directly. And we do these full page experiences that people can get pulled into, and it looks and feels like Forbes' team worked really hard on it. Luckily, it's efficient for them, and they use RebelMouse as that platform. So I think that that native and real-time advertising is really important, but I think it's also unfortunate, like, I don't know if you read the article on organic in the New York Times, but organic is now meaningless because all the lobbyists have, like, it's insane what's allowed to be called organic. So I think we have something very real in that space, but I do try to clarify that it's not, that it is real because there's so many people abusing that. But, you know, in general, it makes a ton of sense that Facebook and Twitter and these networks have been teaching brands how to create content instead of do these horrible flash banners. And so when we come to a brand, we can show them, look, here's all the content you're creating, because we create the RebelMouse site for them so they see it. And everything that they post is tagged so they see all their hashtag campaigns, and it's actually what should be behind. Let me put it right. It's what they should put their money behind instead of the horrible display advertising that they're doing now. So we're in a paradigm shift, and that means there's a lot of things to get through to move that paradigm, but it's moving very quickly, and so it's exciting to be a part of it.
And I think it directly contributes to your amazing success in only 10 months. Like you said, 300,000 sites have been created. Yeah. You guys have 5 million unique monthly views and over 30 developers. This is so unheard of for a startup. So you guys are far beyond your 10-month mark already.
Thank you.
You also haven't pivoted since you started last year. Are there any decisions that you made, Paul, that you think have been really instrumental to staying on track?
Well, you know, our philosophy, and this was true of how I ran product and engineering at HuffPost, is to be incredibly iterative. So we'll make 20 to 40 changes on the site a day. And they're all little measurable changes. We sometimes have a very big important feature, but all of this it's the opposite of the dig redesign, where one day everything is totally different and you either love it or hate it, but you risk everything on that one release. Instead, we believe in constantly releasing. So I love that we haven't pivoted, but we have iterated through dramatically. So if we looked, you know, if you caught me literally a year ago, the way I describe this to people is I had a lot of hypotheticals. Say, what we're building could be used for this, and it could be used for that, and now we have a lot of anecdotals, right? Where we say, and Time used it for Person of the Year, and Yahoo used it for Nemo, the Blizzard, and Forbes for South by Southwest, and et cetera. And those are, there's been a ton of work collaborating with some of the best and brightest in the industry, people who work at Wall Street Journal or Time or Vice or GE, etc., to capture their feedback and make all the little changes. We're very proud of our relationship with Twitter, working with their platform team. A lot of developers whine and hate them and cry about it. Actually, we have a really great relationship where we think our product gets better every time we work with them more. So we're really proud of passing display requirements. We were one of the first to move to the new API that they released. And being really collaborative and iterative is in our DNA. So we much prefer that to, oh my God, huge pivot. But that said, you know, while we're following the same vision we always had, it is really fun as things get very specific. So we think that the suite of products, we haven't released this wording, we can see what you guys think about it, but the suite of products is the Rebel Lift. And you get all types of viral lift and social lift from it. And then there's products in that suite. So there's Rebel Hubs, which is conversation and content hubs that can be a mix of anything, YouTube channels, Instagram, hashtags, Twitter, and original content, RSS feeds from a blog post. And they can also be conversations where you ask people to submit and participate and you pull together the best of that. And then there's Rebel Ads, which make it really easy to bring exposure to these hubs. And you can traffic these across your site, or you can sell them as ads with sponsored content. And so those are Rebel ads and Rebel hubs. And the $9.99 a month thing we're calling Rebel Advantage, which is, as a small business, you can take that advantage and get ahead. And so we're working through this. There's Rebel Alerts, which is daily or weekly emails to the people who really care about you are really effective, but they're such a pain in the neck to put together. And we take that pain completely away just by posting to Twitter and etc. It will assemble this wonderful newsletter that people can subscribe to. So I think there's been a lot of big moments that come out of the releases that allow MTV to use it for movie awards, or ESPN used it for their Super Bowl party, Maxim used it for their Hot 100 event in LA. And from each one of these things we learn things, and we build scale and put together a product that makes sense on the pricing level too.
And you guys were actually named one of the 50 best websites by Time, and in fact it should be top 10.
Thank you.
Distinguish you guys. And so what insights can you give to an aspiring entrepreneur who's trying to stand out online like you guys are doing?
Well, I think there's so much of, like, when you try to separate it out. So there's, I think one of the things that is really helpful is you have a big vision, but people can get lost in that. You have to give yourself really concrete steps that are achievable, so you can have there's always in our mind, we have every hour of the day is valuable. So we have, have we released this yet? And there's this desperate sense of urgency to get to these steps, and you release features that you hope will build the next. Because if businesses kind of grow like this, I don't know if you can see, but it's like a sine wave that comes to the right. So it's very rarely just that, right? You actually build this thing that grows, and then that grows, and it's exciting, and there's press, and then that falls, and you have to counter that and hold it, and then find your next thing and build up. And so I've learned that particularly from Ken Lear, that you build very concrete steps which are achievable to build momentum one step on top of the other. And then something that's like a lesson from Eric Hippo, who was our CEO at HuffPost and is incredible, and is our chairman, and I sit very close to him, which I learned so much from him, is that move from being scrappy, where it's just a few of you and you do everything, to what we're going through now, which is you transition into being scalable, where it might be 1 or 2 degrees less creative in every step, but it's much more replicable. So you discover the things that then you can say, like, we don't want to build a consulting company, we want to build a platform. And so now it's a lot of fun as we have this increased traction and growth, and things have become so clear how you can use it, that the team also moves to be scalable, which in simple terms, I have 3 little kids. I'm actually more proud, they're 7, 5, and 2. I'm more proud of myself as a dad than any other thing else. And the key with all the people on the RebelMouse team is having a sustainable life. So there's these myths of startups where you have to work 90 hours weeks and you sacrifice your family and all of these things. And I think that's a myth. I think actually being a dad helps me to have a balance and perspective. And some of the best ideas I think of are while I'm reading to the kids. And it's this balance that every employee needs, so that life is sustainable. And that's part of the move to being scalable. It's part of why I love a globally distributed team, because we don't have to have the pressure of someone up at 3 a.m. to deliver it. It's that 3 a.m. is in Eastern Europe, their morning. So we have teams purposely built around the pass the baton to follow the sun, so that we can have a great idea from someone at 5 p.m. and in the morning we're testing it. And that at noon there's still someone to support it because they weren't burnt out with an all-nighter. So thinking about that move from scrappy and lean to scalable is something that a lot of people get tripped up on. They make their identity around, I'm a scrappy person, which I love and I embrace that. But you also have to embrace that move to making it sustainable for yourself and for your team.
Paul, I think that's one of the best pieces of advice we've heard lately, so we'll definitely keep that in mind.
Okay.
As you look ahead for RebelMouse, you've mentioned that you want to create some partnerships with social media websites.
Yeah.
Can you give us some insights about how you'd like to do that or how you're thinking about doing that?
Well, what we're doing is that I think with agencies, social media agencies, we want to give them the platform that lets them take a good idea and launch it within 20 minutes, an hour max. Right now, if you use the word microsite in an agency, people's skin color will change. Like they'll get hives and go. It's just because they were never micro. They were tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and at least weeks, if not more, to build. And so with social media agencies and consultants, we love the idea that we have increasing use cases where you can have an idea and an hour later it's launched and you have all the promotional tools to put it in high traffic and see if it clicks. And that, when you study the way I have, and I've been a great, Jonah Peretti has been a mentor and a friend. And so together we've been studying how do things go viral. And one of the core fundamental answers to that question is that they only go viral like when you're trying to replicate it. And it's only possible if you have a platform that lets you take so many swings a week, a day. And that's what is fun with RebelMouse, is you can, as a social media agency, you can have the idea. So one of our favorite stories is that Fox Digital came to us on a Monday at 11 a.m. They were thinking that they were talking about the next season, like let's plan for fall. Kevin Bacon's new show was at 7 p.m. that same night. By 5 p.m. we were live and integrated on their website. So that's the sort of really fun, very iterative, make these things viral so that everyone who cares about content doesn't have to struggle with technology. They can have this engagement and conversation just shine.
Now, you guys are really on the right path to dominating the web. In fact, you're kind of paving it. I'm just curious, though, what you have in store for next year. Like, what will be the greatest indicator of success for you?
I think that we have a very clear path to revenue. So I would like, I think it was Erin Griffith at Pando Daily when the Tumblr acquisition came, that she had a kind of contrarian viewpoint. Everyone was celebrating it. And it was, I like contrarian viewpoints sometimes, and she said, stop celebrating so much New York. When the quintessential New York company makes it big, they'll have figured out advertising too. And I think that is one of our goals, is to really, as we grow, that we grow revenue from the beginning. I think it's harder to graft on later. I think it's something that I think we have the opportunity to show that one of the critical measures of success will actually be really significant revenues a year out from now. But on top of that, we also look at core metrics. What's our reach overall? We could sign up we could sign up 100,000 small sites and only reach 110,000 more people. And that's actually still good. We want that long tail. We want every individual to be a publisher. But we're also measuring that we could sign up 10 sites and reach 300 million more people. And so that mixture of making sure that we're helping the transformation in media companies happen quicker and with better outcomes is extremely important to us. So it'll be revenue and reach and engagement that we build everything around here.
So now let's end here with some of your best advice. You've already given tons of it, but what is the most important thing you've learned in your life? Incredibly broad question, but I'm just...
That's a great broad one.
What's the thing that really sticks with you?
I'm going to go cheesy with this one. My mom is Mexican. I was born in Mexico City, and my grandmother on my mom's side was very, very close to me. And she told me something, not once, but she would repeat it, not all the time. She wasn't annoying about it, but it was a memorable thing that it's stuck with me. So much so that I was explaining it to my 6-year-old daughter, which is that she would tell me, Paul, you know what's in heaven is work. And so I told that to my daughter, and she was like, but we were like drawing together, and I said, you know, Eva, it's like right now, we're working, like you love doing projects. And she said, oh, I get it, so work should be fun. And it's like from my grandmother down to my daughter. I think that the point is that it goes together with Business Insider had a great post about startups and should you sell for 20 million or 200 million and what's better for the founder. And they interviewed a bunch of people, and Jonah Peretti gave, I think, the best answer, which is if you're in it for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason. So I think finding stuff that really you can pass the time away. You get lost in it. You don't realize in 4 hours past, you know you're onto something. And so finding something that's a reflection of your personality that builds off of everything you've all learned already, I think is the magic thing. Like when you try to find something totally new and I'm going to start from scratch, I think you're not on the right path. It's when you take, you know, all the weird things that have made you, and you assemble that into the thing you do. That's where I see people get really successful.